All right, so we're here outside the Galen Center in Los Angeles, and we've just seen the Xbox media briefing here at E3. So what were your highlights from the show?
Well, just the things that really stood out as next gen to me. Metal Gear Solid, the Phantom Pain, the Battlefield 4 demo that we got. But both of those just kind of blew me away with the graphics and the detail and just the stuff that was happening. Stuff that clearly wouldn't have been possible on an Xbox 360. It was actually made me feel like, okay, this is the next gen and it's here.
The thing you got to remember about Battlefield 4 is that it was running at 60 frames per second as well, right? I mean, they've kind of recognised that was something Call of Duty had over them for the whole of the last generation. They could only run at 30 frames per second. Now you've got stuff that looks that detailed running at 60 frames per second.
Yeah, it's amazing. The other thing that I was really impressed by was the Forza 5, the way it uses the cloud to kind of store the way that you drive, and then when you're not playing the game, like a kind of a copy of you will be racing against just random people around the world, earning you in-game money. I thought that was just a really clever idea. It's like a persistent Ghosts from Mario Kart almost. I mean, you're the driving fan. I don't know if that's anything like that's ever been attempted before.
So the Drivatar thing is something that they've done with Forza before, but in very sort of rudimentary ways. So they've tried to do that thing where it learns your style of driving, and then you can have a co-driver that drives exactly like you. But obviously the cloud thing makes it really interesting, because not only did it seem to be very sort of specific moment-to-moment things that it noticed you doing, it was a very sophisticated way of reading your driving style. It also means that when other people are playing online, they'll be playing against you, and your driver will be earning money in those races while you're at the pub or at school or at work. And that's a really nice touch. So it's sort of like it's this kind of persistent, almost like Tamagotchi-esque approach to racing games. But I love the idea that someone will be just firing up a race in Forza 5, and one of the cars they'll be driving against will be me.
Yeah, they seem to kind of come out with the intention of right, here's some games, which was great. I mean, we saw so much stuff. I'm kind of struggling to kind of pick out particular highlights. There were some smaller ones that seemed almost like throwaway announcements as well. There was that episodic murder mystery game called D4 from Square 65. Maybe like 30 seconds of that, and then just straight on to the next thing. But that looked super intriguing, really interesting.
The most throwaway announcement was, there's another Xbox 360 coming out. It looks a bit like an Xbox One, it's small. Yeah. And it's available now.
You can go and buy one right now, apparently. I don't know. Yeah, that was a bit out of the blue. But cool. I mean, it's just a redesigned form factor. Was there anything new in that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think tech-wise, I think it might be smaller and slimmer. But obviously, it was very much an Xbox One conference. Some other interesting ones: Sunset Overdrive. That's Insomniac's game. So the guys who made Fuse, which sold a pitiful amount.
Resistance, Ratchet and Clank. Traditionally been a PlayStation developer, but now they're making an exclusive for Xbox One, which is called
Sunset Overdrive.
Yes, I keep wanting to call it Hotline Miami, which is bad. I thought it looked pretty good. It kind of reminded me of Jet Set Radio, that kind of moving around a really stylized city like that, the kind of the free exploration, but then crossed with that kind of zombie fighting. Maybe something like Team Fortress almost. You have different classes maybe, and you and a team of friends can go and just fight zombies in a massive open world. That sounds pretty cool to me.
Talking of zombies, Dead Rising 3. You're the big Dead Rising fan. What did you make of it?
A big Dead Rising fan. It looked great, but it didn't super feel like a Dead Rising game, if you know what I mean. I mean, Dead Rising is kind of all about the ridiculousness of a man in a dress with a horse's head on and a medieval Excalibur sword decapitating zombies. And this was very sort of dark and serious. I mean, it's the gameplay demo they showed here, and I don't think you can put out a Dead Rising game that doesn't let you dress in ridiculous clothes and everything. I don't think they would do that to the franchise. It's so much about that. But maybe they are taking it in a darker, kind of grittier direction, which is, it's interesting. And maybe, I don't know, the previous games in the series have been kind of cult favourites, but I don't think they've been huge blockbuster successes. So maybe this is what the series needs to kind of kick it into the full-on AAA territory. I mean, what did you think of the demo of it?
I don't play a lot of Dead Rising. I thought it was kind of impressive. It looks very similar to Dying Light in terms of the colour scheme and things. I guess that's just the colour of the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
But there were a few moments when people chuckled. I like the bit where he lobbed a sledgehammer with a saw on it at a zombie and it split him entirely in two.
That was pretty cool.
So I think there were some concessions to kind of humour in there. It's going to be the question everyone's asking is it still a funny game? And you would hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and it's got some really cool stuff in there. Like the driving looked really great. Just you can't just just plow through a crowd of zombies, they'll get in the wheels and slow you down, start pulling you out. I really like that. And the fact that you can now make combo weapons on the fly, because before in Dead Rising 2 you had to go to a weapons bench, and this time he was just duct taping a flashlight to his pistol right there, making a tactical handgun. I thought that was really cool, and it seemed like you could combine everything that sort of made sense. Which would be really interesting if you can sort of be picking random stuff up and creating whole new weapons that no one else has discovered. I would be really into that. And it looked great, like the massive open world and the fact that it was kind of seamless moving between it, because that was a big part of what kind of dragged the Dead Rising 2 experience down, was the incredibly long loading times when you would move from area to area. If they've got a massive open world like that that's seamless to move between, that will be phenomenal.
That seemed to be one of the sort of general themes, and it feels like something that's going to define the next gen is open worlds. I mean, games that would traditionally not be open world, like Metal Gear Solid and things like that, are becoming open world games, and it's kind of the same with The Witcher 3 actually, which again looked really, really impressive, very atmospheric. But again, it's an open world, and I think it feels like this generation of consoles has really enabled a lot of developers who maybe wanted to do open world stuff before, but were limited by the technology to do that stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I was really impressed by was that kind of that feeling of persistence and that feeling of seamlessness in those worlds, because open worlds are great, but if you're waiting hours for each new area to load in, it kind of takes you out of it. So if they can do these kind of worlds without any loading and any kind of immersion breaking, waiting for stuff to happen, then that will be proper next gen for me. That's a next gen feature, you know.
And it was a very sort of Xbox conference, you know, a lot of man shooting, even like the Black Tusk game looked like a kind of shooty, stealthy type thing. How did you feel about that?
The Black Tusk demo?
Just the theme,
the amount of shooting in it. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see maybe something with a bit more of a sense of humour to it, you know. But I guess, you know, that's the audience they're going for. They've got Call of Duty and Battlefield sewn up now. So, yeah, I guess, you know, those games will hopefully still exist. They're maybe just not leading with it in their media messaging at the moment.
Battlefield was definitely one that surprised me. I assumed that Sony would have bagged that in the same way that, you know, Xbox 360 had the kind of Call of Duty DLC and things like that, and Sony had already plumped for sort of Battlefield 3 in that little fight. But now, you know, this is the official console of military shooters, essentially.
Of online FPSs. So I mean, if you're a fan of FPSs, whether you're a Call of Duty or a Battlefield guy, it seems like Xbox is going to be the place for you to play it on.
And then you've got Titanfall as well, which was unfortunately leaked before the conference. Yeah. So it was it kind of took away a bit of the impact of the one more thing, but it looked like a fun game, right?
Right. Yeah, I really like the idea of kind of seamlessly moving between the mech combat and the on-foot combat, and it seemed like it was quite kind of fluid the way you could move around. Like there was guys kind of free running along the walls, and then they have these jetpacks, similar to the ones you get in Halo actually, where it gives you kind of an extra boost to your jump. And what actually I really liked in the demo was the way his mech was damaged. He pulled the eject seat, went straight up and then onto the back of another mech, and then pulled sort of the back out of it, emptied a clip into it, blew up the mech that way. So I'm a sucker for stuff like that, those kind of cinematic moments. So yeah, that looked great, and that was a multiplayer match they had running. So it seems like the mech stuff sort of seamlessly incorporated into the multiplayer, which is cool. It's something a bit different. It's not just military shooter again. You know, you've got giant robots. What's not to like? Really.
One of the things I noticed about the conference in general was the lack of Kinect stuff. You know, that seems to have been kind of set aside. We know there are Kinect 2 games coming out, you know, things like the Fantasia game from Harmonix, stuff like that, but it was very de-emphasized. There wasn't really a lot of family stuff, barring Spark, which was that kind of Little Big Planet style creative world thing. Not a lot of concessions to the family audience.
There were a few things. There was like Max, The Curse of Brotherhood they showed, which was a kind of a platforming game. Seemed to have some kind of smart glass integration, which was interesting. But yeah, it seemed to be kind of going after the 18 to 30 core gamer demographic, which I guess, you know, they're the ones who were most angry about the reveal event.
We also saw the return of Rise, the Crytek, formerly a Kinect game, now definitely a controller game because it has QTE style combat.
Right, I guess they decided it wasn't really working as a Kinect game. So it seems, it's more like a kind of Gears of War, but it's a hack and slash, third-person hack and slash with really QTE-based combat. I mean, I was hoping for something like an Arkham City style of combat. It's a bit obvious with the button prompts and stuff. It looked great, and I really like the idea of the shield formations and the storming the beach thing. It didn't super grab me. I like the setting. It's kind of, I haven't seen that a lot elsewhere, but Yeah, the combat did look a bit, a bit simple, a bit kind of unrefined. So it's Crytek. They know how to make a good-looking game. I guess I'll just have to wait and see more from that. But not super impressed from the demo we saw there.
Yeah, I think pretty much the only thing that impressed me from the demo was the sheer number of soldiers on screen, but then it still felt like you were fighting your own battle in amongst that rather than actually being part of those large battles.
Yeah, I like how they had unlimited javelins to throw. They were just pulling them out of nowhere. But yeah, again, something I'll reserve judgment on until I see more of it, I think.
All right, talking of seeing more of things, we got a little more of Quantum Break, only a scene, yeah. Still not entirely clear what it's all about.
No, I don't think that was gameplay. That was pretty much a cutscene, right? But I guess it's agents who can slow down, stop time. So we saw a woman caught in the middle of an explosion, and these agents kind of existed outside of time. They were able to manipulate objects frozen by time, and it seemed to allude to a kind of a story about a government conspiracy and stealing research. You know, it was intriguing, and I guess that was what they were going for. But yeah, I'm still none the wiser about what you actually do in the game.
And finally, Halo was announced, although not until 2014. No Halo for you this Christmas.
Yeah, well, Halo was announced, but I mean, we didn't really see anything. It was Master Chief in a cloak with a hood. Why does he need a hood? Because he's got a helmet. I mean, is he disguising himself from the no one in the desert? I don't know.
There was a giant spaceship in the desert.
Yeah, which saw him. So good disguise, Master Chief. Yeah, I don't know. It was. It went, here's Master Chief, there'll be a Halo. I mean, like there was ever not going to be a Halo. Not really a kind of a groundbreaking announcement, but it's good that Halo's there, I guess, and that they know people are interested in that.
Well, they did give us a couple of details like dedicated servers and 60 frames per second, right, which is new for Halo. And, you know, there's obviously a huge Halo multiplayer community that will be pleased that 60 frames per second is now part of Halo.
Yeah, well, you know, it's Microsoft's flagship franchise. Of course, they're gonna make sure that it's done right. They're going to put the money into it. So, obviously, that's going to be a hugely impressive game. It's just... you know, it's pretty early to be showing it off. It was more like, don't worry, there will be a Halo, rather than here's Halo.
And finally, we have to mention the price: £429 in the UK, $499 in the US. What do you make of it?
That is a high price. That is the highest end of what people were anticipating. I mean, it's the PlayStation 3 when that launched. That was $425, I think. So it's not unprecedented, but it is seriously high price. I'll be really interested to see what Sony does at their conference. If they're gonna come out and undercut it by £50, that's going to be a huge win for them. It seemed to kind of derail the goodwill in the room, right? Because everyone was like, yeah, games, yeah, this is great, this is what we wanted. And then they go, and it's £425, and everyone went, oh. So it was kind of like as the last thing they did. That's going to be the message people are taking out of the room, which I maybe would have led with it and gone, but look at these games. I don't know, maybe
I would have snuck it in the middle of a Killer Instinct fight, because that was the game that got the biggest response from the crowd, was the return of Killer Instinct.
Yeah, and they used it to show off the game capture and upload, which seems kind of cool. They add some kind of cheesy effects onto it and everything, makes it look a bit over the top and stylized, which I kind of like. And they announced that Twitch TV partnership, which is pretty big news as well. Right,
you can just say Xbox Broadcast and it will start broadcasting to your Twitch TV channel, which is kind of mental.
Yeah, you don't want to accidentally do that. I mean, just accidentally say that and then I don't know, take your trousers off or whatever. But I think it's a really smart partnership for them. I mean, Twitch is huge, and yeah, I think that was a really good move, and I'll be really interested to see what people do with it.
Cool. So, in terms of the conference as a whole, do you think it was a win? Is it enough to erase the bad press of the last few days?
I don't know if it's enough to erase the bad press of the last few days. There's still, you know, huge issues over the DRM and the privacy concerns and stuff. I mean, what they needed to do today was come out and show off a load of games that looked really good, and I think that's what they did. I mean, I was impressed by what I saw games-wise. Is it enough to have said that they've made up for it, or even that they've won E3? I'm not sure. I don't think maybe it's enough. But I mean, there's more stuff going to be on show at E3 that they haven't shown here. Like you said, all the Kinect stuff. So I guess we'll see. It's a strong lineup as it stands. Maybe it'll get stronger.
And it remains to be seen what Sony have up their sleeve. I suspect they will announce a lower price.
Yeah.
Particularly if they weren't planning to announce the price before and it is lower than that, then I think they'll chuck it in right at the end.
Right. You see, someone's like hastily rewriting a speech right now. Yeah, possibly. Well, we'll see, I guess. But on the whole, do you think that Microsoft's in a much better position now than they were yesterday?
I think they are, now that we've seen some games and a lot of fan-pleasing additions, a lot of kind of I think it's easy to kind of bellyache and stuff. You bear in mind we didn't see a lot of games at the reveal, and now that we've seen extended gameplay demos, it looks stunning. The games look amazing. So I think they are in a better position. Like you said, I'm not sure it erases completely the sins of the past, but we'll see. We'll get our hands on them and see how they play.
Yeah, I'm interested to try things like Spark, for example. Which was, I guess, a kind of analogous to Little Big Planet in that you can just create worlds and just basically create whatever you want. I'm really interested to see how stuff like that works with a next generation console, because Little Big Planet was great, but I still felt it was just kind of hard to get your head around, and I'm interested in something like that that's easy to use and just you can create those kind of incredible worlds with it. So that'll be something I'll be interested to check out.
Okay, cool. Well, that was the Xbox media briefing here at E3 2013. Stick with Outside Xbox. We've got a lot more from the show to come. See you next time.
Bye.